Our next speaker, in all of his humility, and I get this, because I've had a chance to work with him a few times prior to this as well, he said, hey, just don't say much about me. So here's Nick Westbrook. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Because I am going to say a couple things about you really, really quickly. One, very, very humble person, and you'll see that just in the way that he presents himself, but very confident as well. He is a business owner who has won many awards, speaker, podcast host, and a shepherd leader, which I think we need so much more of these days. Has had incredible success as a head football coach, as an industry-leading sales executive, and is now the operator of Chick-fil-A Hinesville, going all the way back to 2017. I know we've got some Chick-fil-A people in the room. If you know anything about what it takes to become an operator, it is grueling, and he's done it for years now and is leading incredibly, has won the Symbol of Success for 3 consecutive years as one of the highest performing locations in Georgia. So please, give a warm welcome to my friend, Nick Westbrook.
Good shepherd, I'll follow all my days.
Oh, so fun. All right, so in March of 2020, I got an email that was telling me that I was going to have to close the dining room in my restaurant because of some new regulations, because of the COVID-19 pandemic. I had 100 employees. 30% of my overall sales came from my inside business. I was worried. I had not been running my restaurant that long. What were we going to do? And so I rallied my team. I got them all on this new thing hitting the airwaves called Zoom that we would find ourselves on for the next year and a half of our life. But we jumped on a Zoom call and got everybody together. And I said, guys, listen, nobody's going to lose their job because of this pandemic, because we have to close our doors. But our mission hasn't changed. Our mission that we all created together when we started this thing was to make a significant positive impact in the lives of our team members and the lives of our guests and in the community that we serve. That has not changed. But I promise you that nobody's going to lose their job because we got to close these doors. But we have a responsibility to the second half of that mission, that we have to try to rally to make a positive impact for our guests and our community. And they're going to need us right now. So we may have to learn how to do some things differently. And so it was amazing what happened, and to watch this team come together, and teenagers and college students and Gen Z and millennials start thinking about, what are we going to do now? What can we do? And this one young lady came up with an awesome idea that we had not done any curbside sales before. And she said, well, what if we just take all the parking spots, and now, since nobody can come inside, we just put numbers on them and we start running food out to them. Okay, let's do that. And let's just take all the people that we would have inside, and let's move them outside. We'll have more order takers. We'll put more people delivering meals. Let's do that. And through all of that season, not one person in our business lost their job because we closed our front doors. What is it that makes people do the things that are necessary for us to accomplish our goals? What is it? What takes people from this mentality and this feeling of, I have to do this, to we get to do this, to I want to do this? What happens? What would make people, teenagers, what would make people make personal sacrifices so that we could accomplish our goals? Elizabeth referenced him earlier, but Horst Schulze, who was one of the founders of the Ritz-Carlton, he says that great leaders create an environment where people want to do the things necessary for the organization to reach its goals. What he's talking about is great leaders create a winning culture. That's what he's talking about. Now, in a former life with no gray hair and much younger, I was a science teacher. And I can tell you that we in our day have hijacked the word culture from science. It belonged to them first, right? Promise. It belonged to them first. And what a culture actually is a culture is an environment where things live and grow. That's what a culture is, right? In 2020, when I had to have my COVID test, that heartless, mean snake of a nurse took that probe and scratched off a piece of my brain, and then they analyzed it. And what she was doing was taking a culture and finding out if the COVID virus was living and growing in that culture. What would happen if we went into your organization and your team and we took a sample culture of your operations team, of your sales team, maybe a one-on-one conversation, the break room? What would be living and growing? What are the actions and behaviors and conversations that might be living and growing in your team? Culture in our organizations, culture is it's the sum of the actions, attitudes, and behaviors that are living and growing in our organization. That's what culture is. It's not like what Chris referenced. It's not beer kegs and ping pong tables, right? We think it's like a vibe or the kind of clothes we wear or this dialect that we talk with. That has nothing to do with culture. Culture is the actions, attitudes, and behaviors that are living and growing in our organization. And as leaders, our culture will be the things that we promote, that we practice, or that we permit. Because if you permit it, you're actually promoting it. That's what ends up being our culture in our organization. And so what we have to do as leaders is our real job as leaders is to define those actions, attitudes, and behaviors that are going to help our people and our organizations win and thrive. Because nobody wants to be a part of a losing team. I have never met anyone that wanted to sign up to be the first pick in the draft and go to what used to be the Detroit Lions. Right? Like, nobody wants to be a part of a losing organization. We want to be a part of a winning organization. And as leaders, it's our job, primary job, to define what those actions, attitudes, and behaviors are that we need to promote, that we need to practice, and that we need to permit. Because I can tell you this, you have a culture in your organization. It's not if. There's one right now. You have a culture in your family, you have a culture in your church. Anytime you have a group of people gathering together, there is a culture. And now that culture can happen by drifting into the actions, attitudes, and behaviors of the loudest and most influential people in that group. Or it can happen by us designing and dedicating the right actions, attitudes, and behaviors for our organization that helps everybody win. And that's what we had tried to do, is try to define those actions, attitudes, and behaviors. And so not only did no one lose their jobs, but we end up at the end of that year winning the sales award that Chick-fil-A gives its top performing restaurants in the year. Because we had defined a set of behaviors that our teenagers and Gen Zs and millennials and all across different spans of life had said, this is what we want to be a part of. This is who we want to be. What would happen in our organizations if the major effort that we took on our teams, what would happen in our families and in our churches if all of the effort that we spent, as much as effort as we spent on strategy and plan and all these things that we're going to do, that we spent shaping the actions, attitudes, and behaviors that we were going to promote, that we were going to practice, and that we were going to permit? I think we see some transformational things happen. Thanks for your time, guys.
Nick Westbrook.